We know Nintendo is going to level things up from a hardware and software perspective with Nintendo Switch 2. But it's seeming more and more likely that Nintendo is really ready to raise the bar significantly for Nintendo Switch Online on Nintendo Switch 2, and we've got juicy details to discuss today. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Hope you're all doing fan-freaking-tastic out there. Bowser is right below camera view, and Bowser, oh shoot, Mario is here on your screen. Nintendo Switch 2, though, not here yet, but the online plans, are they starting to take shape in ways that would really blow the current Switch online ecosystem out of the water? That's what we've got to discuss, so let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody, and let me know if you need a memory card, because today is Amazon Prime Day, and that means that the 1TB Lexar Play card, my favorite card, my personal card, the one that stores all my Switch games and I trust to keep safe, secure, and speedily accessed, is 48% off. So make sure to click the link in the description down below. You got 24 hours to grab this card for 48% off. Every time you click the link in the description down below, it helps support the channel. And honestly, like, no joke, it's the best memory card I've ever used in my life. So there is that. Here is Switch Online. You might remember that I discussed a report from a few days back where it looked like Nintendo was doing a shipment of new GameCube controllers. And it was very curious, like, why would they do this? Yes, there were wired GameCube controllers made for the Switch and Smash Bros. Ultimate, but that game is ye old times now. The game is legit like 6 years old. And we know that this upcoming shipment is a wireless controller that has some differences, and it seemed like maybe this is in preparation for a big Switch 2 online changeover where we start to get the games that we haven't got. And by that I mean games that are due. They are old, they are nostalgic, but Nintendo has not yet deemed us worthy to receive these awesome titles, even though the GameCube is very, very old. The GameCube is 23 years old, and that is retro in my mind, so it's time these games get their shine on Switch Online. But today's news is not about GameCube, even though I know that's what a ton of people want. It's about Virtual Boy, it's about Wii, and it's about the mysterious reason why games like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3 have not yet shown up on Nintendo Switch like we heard rumors about and like we expected. Was there a change of plans behind the scenes as Nintendo developed the identity of Switch 2 and how Nintendo accounts and how Nintendo Switch Online would have to change, evolve, and grow to be impressive for a brand new system? So here is the breakdown of what we've got going on. As you know, the current Nintendo Switch Online stops at Game Boy Advance, N64 on the console side, and we've never gone beyond that. In fact, when the Virtual Console first began on the Wii, we did have N64 games. So really, we have not progressed much at all. We've more like, just kind of stayed the same. They have found a way to slowly dole out these games to make us feel like we're getting cool, big, exciting drops. But in reality, this stuff has been available on Nintendo systems for well over a decade. They have not introduced a new system to their retro structure in such a long time. We are so overdue. And GameCube would be great, but what about some other titles and systems as well to really up the ante? A new challenger approaches, and it's Nash Weedle again, back for redemption. You might be saying Nash Weedle is nothing more than a scuttlebutt silly. He's been wrong many times despite his record on Metroid and Mercury's Steam being quite correct. But before we get to Nash Weedle's new updates on Switch Online, I must address a tweet he made on May 13th, 2024, which gives me some hope that maybe Nash actually does have a source and it's not just his own strange imagination. On May 13th of this year, well before the June Direct dropped, Nash Weedle wrote, "Mario and Luigi are coming back. Maybe not as we all would expect, but there is a title in development that includes the name of the two plumbers. It seems that it would be advanced and could be announced in this fiscal year." Now, Mario is not a crazy prediction to make, but Mario and Luigi is a crazy prediction to make in a year where we already got Super Mario RPG remade last fall and Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door remade this summer. A third game within a 12-month cycle seems pretty darn crazy. And that doesn't seem like a lucky guess, throw a fish line out there and hope you take some fish and get some bait. That seems like something informed. And voila, a month later, Nintendo confirms and announces Mario and Luigi Brothership, a title that I don't think anyone was predicting. There wasn't any birds out there squawking, Alpha Dream is coming back in a new form. Like, no, we knew Alpha Dream was dead, and it seemed like maybe the Mario and Luigi franchise along with it. Especially with 2 other Mario RPG games recently released, this would seem like overkill and not a lucky guess, not a likely guess, and unless you had specific knowledge, you probably wouldn't state this. I want to give a quick shout out to Andres Restart, who I think is a fantastic Nintendo creator who identified this Nash Weedle tweet as something of interest. I and many others had dismissed Nash Weedle and unfollowed because it seemed like he was just spouting nonsense. But after that May Mario and Luigi Mania that came absolutely true, maybe it's time for Nash Weedle to move back on our radar. Today, though, he says Virtual Boy games are not lost in limbo. Some of the best games on the console are being adapted to be played comfortably in 2D, and it seems that they would also maintain the 3D version. It is not known if they will arrive as a compilation or for the NSO service. Now, I'm here to tell you this much. For Switch 2, Nintendo is not going to sell a compilation of Virtual Boy games. I don't think that is going to move the needle. I don't think they'll sell them individually either, and I think they would absolutely come to Nintendo Switch Online. In fact, it could be pretty cool if you got a little Virtual Boy headset as your accessory in the same way that they sold NES controllers, SNES controllers, N64 controllers for Nintendo Switch to allow you to play those consoles games. They could give us a Virtual Boy headset, and there's been many rumors about Nintendo experimenting more and more with VR. Beyond the simple constraints that Labo VR provided them, maybe Switch 2, given that it's much more powerful, will be able to do more VR and add another sort of side avenue for game development onto Nintendo Switch's system. Now, I definitely don't think Nintendo is going to go full bore VR, and I don't think it'd be more than a little fun aside for things like Labo or Virtual Boy, but this is absolutely where Virtual Boy would show up. Nintendo might be dropping NES games in a challenge format with Nintendo World Championships later this week, but they're not going to just bundle Virtual Boy games and say, $60. They don't even think they can sell you the NES Championships game for more than $30 digitally, so I digress. Virtual Boy, NSO, that is what Nash is discussing here, and then that would line up as 2 new systems for Switch 2 if we're to believe that Gamecube is added on and Virtual Boy is added on, but maybe Nintendo has their sights set even higher. And this would make a lot of sense given that 2 years from now will be the 20th anniversary of the launch of the Wii. Yes, we're all getting very old at this point. But the Wii is now going to become a nostalgic system for Nintendo fans, and maybe Nintendo is going to make it a trifecta, incorporating Virtual Boy, GameCube, and Nintendo Wii. Now, why would they do this? Well, those systems are old, and we know that they were mined heavily for remakes on Nintendo Switch. But given the success of Nintendo in this generation, given the money that they have procured, given the absolute fame and adoration their teams have acquired with some of the greatest games they've ever made, I bet Nintendo's budgets and I bet their scope is significantly higher for Switch 2. Remember, at the beginning of the Switch generation, Nintendo was coming off one of their worst performances of all time, and it was probably a much more scary business to be spending tons of money on development when you could have another Wii U on their hands. Now, the fact that they didn't have another Wii U and instead had the exact opposite, a mega record-busting system that is possibly the best library they've ever put to shelf, now they can go hog wild with Switch 2, and they've got plenty of money to make it happen. I don't think Nintendo will rely as heavily on remakes and remasters, as they'll probably have more easy access to third-party ports, more easy access to multi-platform titles, and a lot of support, both first-party, third-party, and indie, that they can absolutely count on after the extreme success of the Switch and the undeniable power that Nintendo currently holds in the gaming industry. That means it would free up the GameCube and the Wii to be added to NSO without feeling like it's stealing Nintendo's lunch money. They no longer need these remakes and remasters of these titles, these re-releases and ports. They can put them on an online service that can benefit Nintendo in a different way. How many times can you resell us on the idea of us playing Super Mario World and Mario Bros. 3 and the original Legend of Zelda and Donkey Kong Country 64? Oh wait, still can't play that one. But how many times can you give us these old systems again and again? It's going to run out of steam eventually, and I think that's where new platforms, Wii and GameCube in particular, would be excellent. Perhaps the reason that we have not seen Metroid Prime 2, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess on Nintendo Switch yet is because they're being saved to release in an online format. What if instead of maxing the money they can get out of an individual sale for these titles, They opt to instead up the ante on the online and really try to build their ecosystem and their user base for NSO on Switch 2. Wouldn't it be so great, and you'd be much more likely to subscribe to that expansion pack tier if they said, hey, you can play Wind Waker on Switch Online. You can play Metroid Prime 2 on Switch Online. And by that account, you can play Metroid Prime 3 Corruption on Wii Online because it is a Wii game. A lot of times I think people get confused and feel like all of Metroid Prime was a GameCube trilogy, but alas, that final game was actually on Wii. So we would need the Wii to be added on to Nintendo Switch Online in order to complete the Prime trilogy if Nintendo is not going to release them individually. And what perfect way to support Metroid Prime 4 being a showpiece killer app for Switch 2 with its graphical superiority in comparison to any other first-party Nintendo title ever released by saying, hey, you can play the games that preceded this on Nintendo Switch Online. Maybe they won't be remastered in the way that Metroid Prime 1 was, but they're still there, and on a Switch 2 portably, they still would look pretty darn good. I really feel like this is one of the only ways Nintendo can truly expand Switch Online without doing something dramatically different. Besides offering free games or a Game Pass style service, Nintendo needs to add newer systems to their arsenal in order to keep building up the ecosystem and honestly to keep releasing relevant, exciting games. They've run out of many of the best NES and SNES games, most of the best N64 games, and while they have plenty of GBA games left to go, how long is that really going to carry us for? It seems like GameCube and Wii would be the infusions to make Nintendo Switch Online on Switch 2 exciting again, and really something that you need to subscribe to. And the fact that you could play all of these games like Smash Bros. Melee, Luigi's Mansion 1, the OG Monkey Balls, and of course the Zelda titles that many have been clamoring for just a yearly subscription, I think that would really hook a lot of people in. I think that would be an absolute moneymaker for Nintendo to attract new buyers to the Switch 2, as well as to the expansion pack tier, the more expensive tier that Nintendo clearly wants to incentivize and clearly needs to build on after the DLC for Mario Kart 8, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon 2 has kind of worn out its welcome and is more a thing of the past. The Wii and GameCube are really relics of the past at this point, and it's high time they are brought to the forefront on Nintendo's nostalgic service. Adding in the Virtual Boy leak from Nash Weedle of an exciting development to make Switch 2 Online quirky and cool, adding on the shipment notifications of these GameCube controller parts that must be doing something on Nintendo Switch, and the strange omission of Metroid Prime 2, 3, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and more from the Switch's library makes me think that all of this could actually come together quite quickly. Wouldn't that be a great way to hype the launch of Switch 2 by saying, hey, a new era of Nintendo is upon us, and some of your favorite eras of Nintendo are coming back, and you can play them at a subscription price, not at the $60 nickel and dime price that Nintendo has liked to use often in the Switch era. And what a consumer-friendly move, going from a $60 Luigi's Mansion 2 and a $60 Donkey Kong Country Returns HD to an online service where we can play all of these greats. That would be an incredible way to move forward into a new generation with Nintendo vibes at a maximum and making sure that we know, yeah, they want to make a ton of money. They want to be the richest company in Japan, but they also want to make us happy and reward us for supporting them so darn hardcore during the Switch era with so many Joy-Con purchases, so much software purchases, and so much faith in the Nintendo brand to rebuild themselves to the pinnacle where they were back in the day, but where they were far from in the Wii U era. I think this all is coming together and would shape up to be another excellent new feature for the Switch 2. If you're not going to have a crazy new gimmick, why not bring some old gimmicks back from the past? Let me know what you all think in the comments down below, and how excited would you be to play the likes of Wind Waker, Melee, Metroid Prime 3, Red Steel, and more on your Nintendo Switch. Oh, by the way, that means Galaxy 2 would be coming to the new system and the online service as well. So let me know your take in the comments down below. Is this too crazy for Nintendo? Is there too much money to be made? Or is it finally time that they realize the GameCube and the Wii, they're actually quite old? Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.